I hear the call of the stars.
G'day everybody, Duckville here. We are going to be watching a replay from the Korean ladder. Thought I'd do a bit of casting on the day off. You'll probably see a couple of VODs pop up over the next probably day or so that I've done. Today I thought I'd you know, spend some time laddering, spend some time casting some stuff. This is definitely one of the best ones that I've actually had a brief glimpse of today. I haven't actually watched the whole thing, but I saw the start, and I'm actually quite interested by the opening here from our red Protoss down here, SoulMvP. Soul is, of course, a player who's quite a high caliber player. He's I've done a few casts of this guy before, and he never fails to impress. Generally, with his I think mostly I like his macro. That's actually the best facet of his game. Meanwhile, up here in the blue is our Terran. His name there in the actual text is actually JeongSuJeong. But that is actually the name of a Korean K-pop star, or one of the members of a group called FX. Not to be confused with FXO. Oh, we got a refinery going down pretty quickly there. But JeongSuJeong is actually, yeah, the name of one of the girls in the group, and her little code name in the group is actually Krystal. In fact, wow, both of these guys going for early gas, and it's quite weird to see it more from SoulMvP because he's Protoss. So anyway, so we're going to be calling, just before I get too far into the game, we're going to be calling the Terran here Krystal, because that's JeongSuJeong's sort of, you know, K-pop name in FX. So that's how we're going to roll today. But anyway, back to basics. Both of these guys have actually gotten their gas quite quickly there, and of course SoulMvP getting that quite quickly is a little bit more of an indicator of what's going to happen with the build. This is probably going to signify that there will be some Templar activities quite early in the game, because of course with as many Protoss players will know, if you're going to get Templar, you are going to need a lot of gas, because they only cost 50 minerals, but they cost a whole heap more gas. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you are doing a quick sort of Templar build. And interesting little micro facet here from Krystal, actually just putting the SCV on, cancelling where the SCV was positioned because it was actually close to the wall where the probe could hit it, and then actually bringing it right back on. So going to continue building that wall, and the probe is obviously not going to bust down that supply depot unless he's brought his extra strength taser with him. But that is a nice little bit of marker there from Krystal. But probe runs away, of course, not actually getting inside to scout out what is going on, as we can see on the vision there. Didn't get through and did not get to see what is happening in here. And as we can suspect, there is a factory on the way from Krystal. Going to be getting out that quick factory, probably going to be going for something like Banshees, perhaps a Hellion, or even an early tank. You do see that early tank build, much like its Brood War predecessor, the Strong FD, I think it's called, or Strong FD or something like that. I can't remember, I didn't actually play Terran, but it's where you grab a couple of tanks and just expand with the tanks. So we'll see if that is the play here from Krystal. And SoulMvP, meanwhile, putting down that Twilight Council quite quickly there. The SCV actually, as we saw just before, hiding up the top of the base, actually getting a good scout on everything there. We'll be able to see that both the gases have been taken, so it's not going to be some sort of one gate expand, and of course sees that Twilight Council, which is a huge indicator of what is going to happen here. The SCV will go down, of course, the Stalker chasing it, and there it goes. But essentially the damage has been done in a way. Now Krystal will be well prepared for any sorts of Templar tech that may come along, whether they be a quick sort of Templar drop or even a DT attack. So we'll see what happens here. Probably going to look to save some of that energy there on the orbital command, and then perhaps even get an engineering bay as well to put a turret up or two. But not actually getting too much else here at the moment, apart from an expansion. SoulMvP moving down here, taking that natural quite quickly there. I would say that's actually a little bit of a daring sort of play here. I don't think he's actually aware that there's a bunker up the top of that ramp. No. So he doesn't know that that Krystal is actually teching. So no idea, but I would say that's reasonably sort of daring given the current build that he's going for here. With the 3 gates now up, they will be quite a lot later than they normally would have been. Warp gate tech is just about to complete, but I'm thinking this is actually going to be something which I have seen a tiny bit of, and people have always mentioned on Twitter and that sort of thing. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, by the way, just @DuckvilleLol. and you can follow me there. But here we go with the Hellions here, a couple of them busting through, trying to take out that sentry at the top of the ramp, but a nice little force field there from the sentry actually catches one of the Hellions there before it can actually take it out, and one Hellion goes down. But this build actually, before I get lost again, is looking like, yep, there's the Templar Archives, a Forge is there as well, and a 4th gate perhaps. Nope. Going to stick with the 3-4 now, but this is probably going to be this very quick something which has been making the rounds. It's people pretty much calling it an Archon Zealot opening, where you just rush to grab a couple of Zealots, and what they do, of course, they can help nullify Marauders, of course. Marauders are quite a bit of a problem at the start of a Protoss's early game, because with the concussive shells, they can slow down your Stalkers and kill Stalkers, of course, and Sentries and Zealots as well. But that's one way to deal with them, because of course with the new patch the Archons don't actually get slowed by concussive shells, not to mention they just rip apart Marines because of that extra damage that they do to bio. But let's just close this off quickly, there we go. And yeah, so we'll see if that is going to be the opening here. I'm definitely assuming there it is, yeah. So he's got one Archon already, got a couple of Sentries and a Stalker and a Zealot to help out with defense, pumping up the probes here at the mineral line of the natural. There it is, currently sitting at 36 harvesters to 28, but the mules, I would assume, will start kicking into effect here. And look at this opening from Krystal, getting the racks down at the side of the lower side of the natural expansion. A couple of bunkers going up along with a bit of a wall, and it does look like it is going to be some sort of mech play here. We've got 3 factories up already, 1 with the reactor, 2 with the tech labs there, so they're going to be able to focus on getting a couple of tanks out per round, and the Hellions will of course come out of the reacted factory. So no turrets. I'm really surprised to see that there are no turrets here from Krystal at all. It's quite interesting, considering that he did see the Twilight Tech. Must be just assuming that it will be that opening there. The Hellions trying to get inside the back of the mineral line at the natural, but the force field providing a great little shield there to block them from getting too far, and the Archons and Stalker will take them out quite easily. So it's really tech heavy here at the moment for Soul. He's got the +1 to armor just about done. Always try and get your armor first. Generally, that's the best way to do it when you're opening against a Terran, because of course armor will really help negate the damage that Marines do in the early part of the game. Storm also coming up along with Charge, so Soul is really going hard on this this really interesting style that he's going to pull out here. May have to actually try this one myself, but it looks as if he's going to expand down to the 3rd base here behind at the semi-island. Once he clears out those rocks, he'll be able to just move up there and probably take that. I would assume he's going to go for that pretty quickly. He's currently sitting on 550 minerals, so I don't see him actually, I don't think he'll actually spend it. Nope, there he goes, okay. As soon as I say that, he pulls something out, puts down 2 gates, 3 gates in fact, along with the robotics facility. Is going to get some detection, I would assume. That's something which he has been lacking a little bit of. Does have a cannon in the mineral line of the main, but not one in the mineral line there of the natural. But there is one just at the front here for any detection needed at the natural expansion. So he's really sticking hard with that tech. Let's go check out what Krystal is up to. Got some supply depots positioned quite nicely there to make sure that scouting is done off the side of the base. A couple of tanks are already in position, and a couple more are just rolling down the hill here. They will be moving in, getting ready to siege up. There we go, and there's a turret finally coming up here for Krystal, and another one just inside the natural as well. There is an engineering bay, so we're going to have an E-bay, the bunker there as well, and a medevac is going to head off and perhaps drop a couple of Hellions in the back of the mineral line there. But the Hellions capitalizing on the fact that Imp Soul has actually moved out of his natural expansion there. Probes lining up there, actually splitting up quite nicely there, just actually splitting them so that they don't get multiple hits on the same probes. But the Hellions are still doing a lot of damage, taking out all sorts of probes everywhere, taking a couple more, maybe one more just before he dies, and that will be the end of that for the moment. Not a bad retention of the units there, and here comes another drop actually just off to the side in the main. The cannon will be able to dispose of that Hellion quite quickly there. Citizen's arrest on that Hellion, and that will be that. So nice double prong attack there from Krystal, actually doing a nice amount of damage there. Look at all those probes killed. I actually got 20 probes killed in total, most of them I would assume coming from the natural expansion. So that was quite a nice move there by Krystal, and we'll see what SoulMvP is going to do to help try and counteract that. It looks as as if he is really sticking with his macro style, as I mentioned earlier on, really going hard on this expansion here, pumping out the probes 3 at a time, of course, with Chrono Boost. That will help out. Charge and Blink are both done, and +1 to armor is also, no, +2 to armor is also done. Sorry, I missed that one. But he's going to be well prepared in the tech stakes, but the problem is he really needs to actually get some units out, because he's currently sitting on an army supply of 75 to the 106 of MVP, of Krystal, sorry. And Krystal, with this Ghost Academy out now, we'll be able to get a couple of ghosts out. In fact, one is already out, just sitting here, building up some energy. A second one just pops out there as well, and this will really help in taking out some of the extra units there. Probes have actually been molested there at the main base, and they have actually been taken down quite a notch. I would say that some of them probably transferred across, but the cannon is going to be able to get rid of this this Hellion for a final time. Sorry, we actually missed that little bit of that, but we'll put it up in a little picture-in-picture thing just to be cool. Just down to the side. I'll get that done in a minute. But just as I mentioned there, the army tab actually looking really low for Soul at the moment here. Just sticking with the tech, going hard on the tech, not really bothering about trying to get too many units up just at the moment. I would suspect that maybe because he has sent this probe around, the observer around, hasn't actually done too much scouting inside the base, won't be able to just for the moment because there is a turret there sitting in a really nice spot. But he's done a really nice job of actually just sort of sticking with these low units for now, and really only losing probes. And as we have a quick look at the Harvester tab, we're sitting at 41 probes at the moment, so he is really cranking them back out again, and probably will catch up quite soon. But the problem he's going to have is that Krystal is now expanding up to the 3rd base himself. He's going to have that ready to roll in just a moment, and now the Templar tech are coming into full force with a couple of Archons, a couple of Immortals, and these Templar off to the side building up some energy, and we'll see if they come into effect here, because the problem with, of course, the Storm tech is that Storm doesn't exactly do a lot to tanks initially. Of course, when you've got the tanks grouped up like these are at the moment, it's actually quite beneficial to put a Storm down to do some AoE damage, but just initially, you're not actually going to get the Templar into range. In fact, he's probably aware of that and has gone for 2 extra Archons in the mix there. Meanwhile, the tech is now really pumping away here for Krystal, getting up 2 extra factories, currently sitting on a total of 5, going to have 2 with reactors and 3 with tech labs, and that is actually going to be something really big to overcome for Soul once he actually comes into a fight. But just at the moment, we're currently sitting on just sort of 3 bases, and they're chilling for the moment. They're not actually thinking about attacking just for the time being, and we'll see if one of them actually decides to do something of that matter. And just for now, yeah, there's not really too much going on. Both the players just sort of macroing up. As we look on the tech tab, we actually have a nuke on the way for Krystal. It's just coming up through here in the Ghost Academy. Probably going to try and give that a shot if he can, but I don't actually see any way that he's going to be able to get it. There are cannons positioned generally quite well here. Getting in a spot like here would be quite a feat to do, but if you could get a nice nuke off, but I don't think that's going to happen. The 4th command center just floating across here from Krystal, going to head across to the gold, and perhaps now we will see a move out of this big mech army. Do keep in mind the tech is currently sending a +1 to weapons for these mech units, and that is about it for the time being. No bio upgrades just yet, of course, because there are only these ghosts in the mix, which will be used to take the energy off these Archons, of course, and the Immortals, which will really help in trying to just blast through that Protoss very hard army there. But tanks have lined up. They've decided to take out the rocks here at the gold, and it looks as if Krystal is going to move in for that. I'd be very careful. We've got a big force starting to build up here for Soul. He's going to perhaps have a shot. A good idea would be to come down at an angle this way where the tanks aren't aligned in a sort of optimal formation, and he may be aware of that, coming across with a Guardian Shield. Archon's running up first charge. Lots just running into the battle there. Storm going down all over the Hellions, and down go those Hellions. Beautiful storms there. Perhaps some feedbacks on these stores would be really good here for Soul, but he's not going to. Switching instead those Templar into Archons. The Immortals will go down along with the rest of this force, but it was quite a decent hit there, and a little bit of micro, beautiful micro there by MVP, sorry, not MVP, by Krystal to pick that Thor up and keep it out of the battle for that time while the Immortal was around. But the tanks, just with that awesome firepower from afar, disposing of every single unit that Soul had in the battle. So we're still sort of waiting to see on what the plan is from Soul. If he's going to stick with this particular combo, perhaps it's not going to work as well against the mech army. May need a second robo to start getting out these Immortals a lot faster than he is currently, because of course the Immortals take a lot less damage from the siege tanks than the rest of their army brethren. And I'll just be really surprised if he does sort of stick with just the one robo for the moment here. We don't have a second one anywhere else, do we? No, we don't. We do have a fourth base though coming up here from Soul. He's going to be getting this up shortly. One cannon that used there to protect this one. I wouldn't mind seeing another cannon just down here. Maybe there it is. Oh, beautiful! Good work, Soul. He's got the headphones on and he's listening to me right now. But the planetary fortress is up at the goal. That means that this is going to be quite difficult to take with any sort of ground force, especially considering this extremely small choke point here to get into the gold. Not to mention, of course, the bajillion tanks that are currently sitting outside the gold and the natural expansion. So he's quite well protected for the moment here. No turrets over here at this side of the top left expansion. Of course, you do need to come in from the right-hand side, and there is one turret just across to the side there, which will probably impede that progress there before Hellions have decided to drop in and say hello at the fourth base here. Beautiful gateway block there by Soul. He's put up those two gates, and they have just stopped those Hellions in their tracks. The Stalker's now blinking up through the top side of that ramp, and they will be able to take out these Hellions in quick fashion. I would assume a little bit of Blink Micro wouldn't go astray here to take some of these guys out of the line of fire of the blue flame there, but no, he just lets that be and does a great job of cleaning that up. So nice little cleanup there, and that wall was absolutely amazing reactions there by Soul to put that up straight away and just make sure that those Hellions weren't doing everything that they could have been doing. But the army is starting to slowly build up here again for Soul. He's currently sitting on a supply of 151 to the 175 of Krystal. So Krystal is still sitting in quite a decent spot, getting the upgrades up. Let's have a quick look at what's rolling here. Armor has been done for Soul. He's got the brilliant extra 3 armor there on the Protoss units. Of course, this really helps out the Immortals and of course the Archons as well, really giving them a little bit more longevity in fights. So we'll probably see them last a tiny bit longer than they normally would. But over here on the left hand side of the map, these 83 billion tanks that are out for Krystal are going to be quite a force to contend with. A couple of Thors in the mix to make sure that there are no air units to cause any trouble. A Raven to spot as well, just in case there are DTs, and the Hellions to take care of all of those Zealots on the ground as well. But let's look at the upgrades for these. We've got +2, +3 just about done here for the Terran Mech Army, and the +2 to vehicle plating is also just about done. And now moving out to secure the 4th and the 5th base here. In fact, this is already done, an orbital command just about completed here, and this is going to put Krystal in a really nice spot, from an economical position, actually giving him a really nice position, actually taking this whole half of the map with the gold done, the corner expansion as well, along with the 4th, and the original natural expansion still going for the time being. But it's going to give him a really nice position to fall back on if some of his army actually falls in battle. But speaking of falling in battle, I don't think this particular force is going to get too far. Hellions deciding to come across a couple of tanks moving along as well, trying to get rid of those Stalkers, and now the charge lots have decided they're not going to go up to that base, which they're probably going for, and they have just decided to just head into battle there. And all of these tanks here, that's a total of, how many is that? That's 12 tanks, 11 tanks there in the mix of just that side. There are still more down to the side here, along with the Ghosts, and I would think any battle is going to go quite the way of Krystal for the time being. Let's see if there is some sort of tech that's going to come out. In fact, there it is. We actually have +1 to air weapons here for Soul. He's got that on the way. Here it comes. It's just about done. The +3 to weapons is also done for the ground units of the Protoss army. Gas is all done here. The minerals are just about all gone as well. So he's going to need to perhaps look at taking out the rocks here at the gold expansion and moving across to that. So we're probably, what we're seeing here, guys, I don't know if how many of you have actually seen Brood War, but this is actually a lot like a Brood War Terran versus Protoss style, whereby you have the Hellions, aka Vultures, to sort of tank some of the Zealot damage at the start. You got the tanks just moving out now with their +3 to weapons, and these guys will actually just decimate everything in the Protoss army if they are positioned nicely. That's the key, is actually having nice positioning and taking advantage of where your opponent is currently sitting. So we're still waiting to see if Soul is there. It is. He's actually got 4 carriers on the way. They are going to be arriving in just a moment, and not a moment too soon, in fact. Not really sure. Oh, beautiful. That was actually a warp prism warp in to drop on top of the tanks there, putting a little bit of damage on top of them, and that actually was quite an interesting little play there from Soul, but he's going to be in quite a world of pain here if he lets these tanks move into position here with their +3 to their weapons. They will be doing that huge 65 damage in siege mode, and here he comes, deciding to move out. To these tanks have come a little bit too far from where they could have. Huge storms going down all over the place, and down goes some of those units. The Hellions mostly going down there for Krystal, and this is going to get quite interesting. These carriers need to come out, and they need to do a lot of damage, otherwise Soul is in a lot of trouble here. Got a few units sitting out here at this expansion just waiting to get clobbered, I would think. Here they go, tanks going down straight away, engagements on both sides, point defense drones stopping the damage of Stalkers for the moment here. Feedback's going off on the, that was on the Thor there. That Thor currently sitting on 9 health. He's quite happy that he's still alive for the moment here. And all sorts of warp-ins going on here from Soul. He's going to use the feedback on these Thors, I would assume, perhaps to get the feedback on the point defense drones as well. Couple too many feedbacks there on those Thors, of course, but the carriers are about to come into the battle. Where are they? There they are. He's only got the 4 carriers here, not actually bothering too much with getting any more, but the siege tank line is still operational just for the moment, but a few Zealots could come in and change that at the moment here, taking out a lot of those Zealots with the tanks from the side, and the Archon is just going to put up his hand and do not argue with me, but the tanks say good night, and they take care of that, and here come the carriers. They have arrived. They have got their graviton catapult thingy, whatever it's called. Bam, there they go. Tanks going down. These guys have +1 to their armor, +1 to their weapons as well. They will be doing a lot of damage to this Terran army, considering the Thors have been disposed of, and now with those interceptors doing their damage all over the place, and the only thing there that is actually able to stop them is the Ghost, and I can tell you what, the Ghost is not going to do much but a defensive position nuke, but the Observer up in the sky is not going to have any of that, and these tanks will go down. I'm a little bit surprised that Krystal has not actually retreated a little bit earlier, because this is obviously something that could have been foreseen, and the carriers have now decided to progress through the middle of the map there. They're going to take out some more of those units, but up here at the gold is running a little bit low on one side. He's obviously used a few mules on that side. The corner expansion still going nicely. That's not fully saturated though, so that's half the reason why that's still fine to go. The base up here is still up and running, but okay, there's going to be more turrets than there are SCVs. That's fair enough, but he's going to be protecting that. Speaking of turrets, more building up across the middle of the map here, forming a huge no-fly zone at all for these carriers once they try and get into the battle there. But the turrets are going to have something to contend with here, because I think there are a few more carriers on the way. 4 carriers still coming across from Soul. He's going to have 8 in total. Going to need to be quite careful with them. Doesn't want to lose them too stupidly to these turret fields that are being erected by Krystal. And now with this 5th base up and running, he should really actually start looking to take these rocks now that he does have quite a lot of map dominance at the moment. But the ground force is still not really looking too hefty at the moment here for Soul. He's going to take out this 5th base of Krystal. That is already done and dusted. These carriers do have their +1/1, of course, and they will be getting +2/2 in just a second. The Vikings, in fact, that will be coming out of Krystal shortly will have their +2 to weapons. So Vikings in good numbers with good micro can take care of these carriers, and in fact we may see a bit of micro here from Krystal there, taking a few shots off, then retreating. That's what you have to be careful of, is just actually retreating in time before the carriers can launch the graviton catapult and fire away those interceptors. But turrets all over the place. This is going to actually be quite taxing on the income of Soul, but he does certainly have quite a bank up and running already, and the carriers are going to take out that 4th base quite easily, and turrets just being pushed out of the ground everywhere here. You can see all of these just forming here through the middle of the map. I think he's hoping that that Soul may actually burn out with these carriers, but a Thor, 2 Thors in fact, coming into battle there along with the Vikings off to the side. These carriers could go down, but it looks as if the carriers are just a little bit too powerful there for the Thors. Whilst they do get that AoE damage, and the carriers are getting quite low on their HP, they are actually just still quite a force to be reckoned with. And now actually some beautiful micro there from Krystal there, taking the carriers down, reducing the numbers to 3. There are only going to be 3 here, plus the 4 across to the side, and this is actually looking quite interesting here for Soul. He cannot commit to try and take out the middle section of the map because of all of these turrets here, but he also cannot really push to the side because these the Vikings off to the side are doing a fantastic job, and there they are. So the ground army for Krystal currently sitting at a bunch of tanks and some Hellions as well, but a warp in across to the side here with a warp prism. The paper plane doing a good job for once, but there is just way too much mech damage here. The Hellions with their damage are doing quite a lot there. 30 damage to light units. That's 11 damage just overall, but it is AoE, so those Zealots will be actually taking quite a lot of damage here. But it looks as if Krystal is going to attempt to reclaim that 4th base there with the gold just about done now. Actually, I'm quite surprised he hasn't really rebuilt this at all, but 4 carriers sweeping across the top side of the map. They will be able to take care of this command center, and a ground force now moving through the middle here for Soul. He's going to be taking out these turrets as best as he can to allow those carriers to get some space to move. Storm going down on top of those Hellions. Brilliant move there by Soul. He's taken out a lot of those. The SCVs are starting to fall in their number as well. And both of these guys actually sitting around about the 100 mark, but all these tanks are going to absolutely obliterate the rest of these units left here for Soul. And that ground army is now gone, but look at what's coming from the top. 2 more carriers coming in. This is going to get quite interesting here because Soul is starting to run low on those carriers. He should have more incoming, but I'm not actually sure what he's sort of building at the moment. Nothing too much really. He's focusing on microing these carriers, and he's going to try and take out this orbital command as well. Probably won't happen, I don't think. There are too many SCVs there. Perhaps if some... No, he actually doesn't have those Vikings anymore. I believe the Vikings have been taken out. I can't actually find them anyway. But actually, in that case, if he can target these SCVs and take them down, he may be able to get rid of this orbital command. But an attack force is moving across from Krystal here. A few tanks of Thor and some Hellions to do some extra damage as well. They're going to try and push across to this 4th base. Keep in mind, guys, this gold has not been touched by Soul. If he needs to, he can come across and take this, and he'll be in a really good position to come and boost his economy. But currently he's sitting on 2,000, just about 2,000 minerals and 2,000 gas, so he's certainly in quite a good position at the moment here. We still do not actually have any extra carriers coming out just yet. He's sort of switched back into a little bit more of a ground-heavy force, got 3 Immortals on the way along with some extra ground forces as well. Here comes the attack. Look at that siege tank line. Keep in mind that 65 damage versus armored from the siege tanks, so this is going to be quite a huge amount of damage coming in here on this 4th base. It probably will go down, but he will have to contend with all of these Zealots, the Immortal, and the rest of this ground force here. A lot of Zealots in the mix there. They will be doing huge damage. Thor being taken out straight away with the feedback there. Storm right on top of the tanks. Zealots just ripping through every single thing here. The Zealots do have 313, so they've got a little bit of extra armor with that shield upgrade, and it looks as if that is probably going to be the end of it for the moment for Krystal. I don't think there is much gas left in the tank, but the Immortal is going to try and have to run around and you know, play chasey with these Hellions, but does eventually dispose of them, and that has just bought Krystal just a tiny bit of time. But the problem is, a tiny bit of time for what? We have his opponent currently sitting there on 5 bases, or waiting to reproduce that carrier tech, I would assume, but he's just really in a bit of an unfortunate position, because expanding up here would be quite a risk to do, along with this one as well, because there is that imminent threat of more carriers bearing down on him. But now there's the small sort of ground force just coming through the map here. We've got a couple of Archons, a couple of Templar, some Immortals, and some Zealots here in this mix, just ripping through all of these turrets in the middle of the map. Some Hellions trying to say no to that attack, but they won't be able to get too far. The Templar, sorry, actually being removed quite easily there by those Hellions. They obviously do a lot of damage to them when they are at full upgrades here, but just looking at the base here for Soul, he's finally decided to get some more robo facilities, and he will be able to just start slamming out those Immortals, which I think will probably be his next best bet. And here comes an attack on the top corner base. This is one of the few mining bases for Krystal, and finally dropping down those Vikings, because there are no carriers in the sky. The Immortals and the Archons here trying to take out these tanks, but that is quite a huge tank force. Look at that. There are around about 4 or 5 tanks in that mix just at the moment, but as we said, this is just looking quite dismal at the moment for Krystal. Still waiting to see if Soul is going to take this gold base, but I don't think we're going to have time for that because he's just in such a commanding position here. The only thing that, interestingly, that Krystal is lacking is minerals. Currently sitting on 2,000 gas, doing a fantastic job with in the gas stakes, but just no minerals at all. And that's because Soul's doing a great job controlling this side, and there's that inferred pressure that this base will be extremely hard to take because there could be carriers coming. But forget about carriers. We've got 4 Void Rays on the way. We also have a mothership. I'm not sure where there it is. We've got a mothership on the way, and once that comes into battle, I would say it is going to be over Red Rover. And now finally deciding that the gold base is a cool thing to have. Coming inside there, probably going to put down a Nexus pretty quickly there, but he's just sort of waiting to see what he can do up here at the top. Hellion trying to take care of these Stalkers, blinking around, being really annoying. Good job here by Soul to keep them alive, but the tanks rolling in here. Do not want to contend, you do not want to argue with those tanks at all, and they just roll in there with their 3-3 and remove the rest of those Stalkers left at that base. But the Nexus finally up here for Soul. We'll probably see the mothership lag my computer out in just a second. Once it appears, the Void Rays are in effect as well. Void Rays, where are they hiding? They're over here, okay. They're just sitting out here at the gold, just chilling, making sure that the gold is ready to roll. And here comes the final push, I would say, from Krystal, unless it's some sort of distractionary move, but I don't really think it's going to work. But here come these Voids. They've got nothing to contend with them from the ground, so Soul's just probably going to walk through all of this army, but deciding to run across here. The tanks are sieging at the exact wrong time, and now the Zealots running in, chasing those tanks away. You can't ping-pong micro those tanks too much. And here come the rest of the forces here. The Immortals are just blasting through those Hellions left on the map. And here is the full force of the army of Soul just ripping through the rest of this army here. Krystal's just got really nothing left to actually do here. Retreating to those turrets, a good idea. We'll be able to take care of those Void Rays that are in the mix there, but those Immortals are just blasting through everything. And there we go. There is the GG from Krystal, and that is that. What a great game between these two players. Love that mech play from Krystal, actually doing a great job in the initial part of the game. Just unfortunately falling to some brilliant storms, and then some a very sort of clutch sort of carrier switch there just at the end there, which started taking out tanks left, right, and center. But there's that mothership. It didn't actually lag, but that's all good. But brilliant game there by Soul to take all the bases, keep his economy up despite some of those Hellion drops earlier on in the game, and just doing a really fantastic job. So hope you guys enjoyed all of that game there. It was a bit of a long one, and that very cool opening here from Soul, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.